Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and yay, it's Triple Play Day!
Hooray!
And I'm here with Misty and Natalie, and we have 3 great projects to show you, all using the half-square triangle block.
Half-rectangle
Triangle.
That's right.
Okay, Misty, you get to start this time.
All right, awesome. I'm super excited. This is my quilt.
It's so cute.
Thank you. It's
really
so
cute.
simple. I called it Bejeweled. I've been listening to a lot of Taylor Swift, so it seemed right.
That seems perfect.
You know,
Of course.
and I just love this fabric line. It is called Gayle Loraine by Elizabeth Chappell for Art Gallery Fabrics, and you are going to need 1 pack of fat quarters. There's 12 in this bundle. You're also going to need 3.5 yards of background fabric, and then 4.5 yards of backing. I use the same for my binding, so an extra 3/4 yards. I also use Latifah Saafir's HuRTy ruler, and it's really awesome. I can't wait to show you how to use it.
That's awesome. I love that you're using a fat quarter bundle because that's the original pre-cut.
Exactly.
You know.
It was fun to mix it up a bit, so I'm excited to show you how this works. Let me move this stuff out of the way. So like I said, there are 12 fat quarters in the bundle. There were a couple that were pretty light, these 2 here, so I just left those out. You really only need 10 to make the quilt that you see here. And so I have a couple here.
They're so cute.
It's such a beautiful line. And so let me just show you how I cut this. So here you can see, here's our fat quarter, all opened up, but I'm gonna fold this in half long ways. So the shorter width of my fat quarter is running this direction.
Do you need me to iron this line so it's different, or?
You can, actually, if you want to press that in half, that would be great.
So one of the things that's interesting to me is the half rectangle triangle is a little iffy for people.
Yes, it can be.
It's fun that she's come out with a ruler.
Yeah, and I have to admit, it was a little bit of work for me to figure out, but once I did, she has thought of everything, truly. She gives you a little bit of extra room when you're cutting, and then there's all the things you need on there to square it up, so it's just really great.
Will it matter that this isn't lined up straight?
No,
I just happened to notice that.
Yep, I'm going to trim it all down anyway, so that is just fine. So I'm going to make a straight edge here. There we go. And I want this folded in half. That's on purpose. Just keep that in mind. And we're going to go over 6 1/4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1/4. Make sure that's right and make a cut. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1/4. There we go. And this is extra. We can set that aside for now. I'm going to stack these up. And now I'm going to trim these so that they are 6 1/4 by 10. So I'll cut off my folds down here. And then over 10, just like so. Now I'm going to leave this stacked exactly like it is because this is going to give me the different angles that I need so that half of my rectangles are going one way and half are going the other way.
Okay, so actually they're up, down, up, down.
Yep, exactly. Okay. So we're just going to leave it like this, and now I'm going to take my HuRTy ruler, and our cutting guide is the orange line. That's what we're working on. And you actually want to flip this over so where it says A start, you can read it, and then I'm going to lay that orange line along the edge of my fabric. And I do want to point out that in the ruler instructions, she has all kinds of size information of what you need to cut so that this works without lots of thinking. So just pay attention to that. For this, we have 6 1/4 by 10. So I'm lining my orange line up, and then there's a little orange arrow here at the top, and I want to slide and make sure that that's touching the top of my fabric. And then we're going to make a cut. We can pull that aside. And then I'm going to flip this like so and do the same thing. Line up that orange edge, and we just have a little bit to trim here. And there are all of my print half rectangle triangles, and you'll see when we open these up, they're going to be going in opposite directions. which is what we want so that we can make our diamond. Just like that. See?
Very cool.
Super cool. So by doing this,
So
you
do
actually
that
get
again
enough.
with your background.
Two
Well,
blocks.
kind of, except for because I have yardage with my background. It's a little bit different. So I just have a 10-inch strip.
Okay.
And so we're going to actually, I'm just going to leave it folded. It's probably not the most economical way to do this, but it's going to work. If you had a print, obviously, this maybe wouldn't work every time because, again, you need
Both
opposites.
sides, yeah.
Yeah.
But with the solid,
Oops,
you
then
can
you
use
can flip
both
it over.
sides. Yeah.
Exactly. So
okay,
I'm just,
that makes sense.
I'm just going to cut this edge and then cut a few so we can get started.
Natalie, hand me those scraps, and I'll just toss them in the...
So remember, we're starting with the A start where we can read it, lining up that orange edge. You can see that line really well against the background, and the orange arrow at the top. And then we'll make a cut, and then flip this over, and oops, make a cut. There we go. And now we have our background pieces.
Very cool.
Super simple. And so now let's just sew a few of these together. So we're just going to put those just like that and sew down the side. There we go.
That is nice because it gives you that little bit of edge on the bottom so you don't lose your 1/4 inch.
Totally. And like I said, the way that she's designed this, you're actually able to trim it up at the end so that they all fit beautifully and nicely. And so you have a little bit of wiggle room. It's way more forgiving than I thought it would be when I started.
Should we let Natalie sew some of these, and you can actually hand me the ones that are coming through?
Absolutely. You want to cut this one, Nat?
Oh, yes.
Perfect.
And then I can iron.
There we go.
The girls got to have something to do,
That's
you know.
true, absolutely.
There's that one.
Okay. Let's just do 2, because really the block is just 2 of these together, and I have a bunch made already. So this
Okay,
is
cool.
perfect. So if we'll press that one, then I can show you how to trim this. So now for trimming, we're actually going to be looking at the black line on the ruler. And so let me get myself oriented straight. So I'm going to line the seam up right along the black line, and I am looking at this 4.5 by 9 inch measurement. So I'm going to slide this down until that number matches along the bottom edge. And then I'm going to keep that black line right on my seam, and then I can just trim off these 2 sides, just like so. And now I'm going to rotate this and just check it from the other side as well. Because see, I can have a little bit more to trim off of this edge. There we go. And then that is ready to go, and we can trim up this one too.
It's always good to see it a couple of times.
It is, especially because they go different directions, so you actually have to
Flip
the ruler and think about it. So then this comes down to, actually I need to rotate this because I'm right-handed, so flip that over. Black line comes down to the bottom. And I am just going to start this way and trim off this first edge. And then I can flip this around and do the other. Hold on. My brain is not working. There we go. That's it. Takes a little bit of figuring. So there we go. Here's my 4.5 by 9. There's that cut edge that we just made. And now we can trim these 2 sides. Whoops. There we go. Just like so. Now they will match up perfectly.
Perfect.
And we can
Sew them together.
sew those 2 together. And that is actually our block. And the reason that I did it that way is because we have these half diamonds up at the top.
Oh, very cute, yeah.
And so the rest is all in the layout. And your squares end up measuring 9.5 inches. And so you have these pieces that all go together. And then the open spaces are just 9.5 inch squares, which I have here.
I got so wrapped up in watching her.
I know.
I forgot my job.
You're fine. So see, we have, let's do a little bit of the layout here.
Okay.
So here's one of our diamonds, and then we'll start with a half up here, and then another one can come in below, and it just offsets it just a little bit. And then these are just our background squares. They're 9.5 inches, and those fill in these open spaces down at the bottom of the quilt. So it finishes up at 63 by 72. It's a great lap or throw size. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I used the Baptist fan to quilt it, and this beautiful fabric on the back. I just
so
loved it.
soft
It's
and
so
pretty.
pretty.
Yeah,
I used
I
the
love it
same
too.
for the binding.
Really
it's just
pretty.
really quick and easy. So I think, Nat, you're up next.
All right.
All right, so Natalie, I guess it's your turn, and I love your quilt.
Oh, thank you.
so pretty.
I called it Spinning Squares, and let
It's
me
very
cute.
cute.
Tell you how I made it.
Awesome.
So to make my quilt, you're going to need a package of 10-inch print squares, and I used Cheri
Would that be Mon Cheri?
Cheri by
Yes.
Lila Tueller from
you
Riley
go.
Blake. It's fun. It's really beautiful fabric.
It is gorgeous. She always does a great job.
Yeah, so you also need a package of 10-inch background squares. You'll need a little bit of sashing and inner border, 1 yard and 3/4. You'll need an outer border. I used an additional 1 yard and 3/4, exactly the same as your sashing and inner border. And then backing is 9 1/4 yards because this is a giant quilt.
Yes.
It's 85 by 103. I keep getting those numbers mixed
Can
up
we
for
look at
some
that
reason.
back?
And
Look
the back
at
is this
those cherries.
beautiful cherry print. It has so many fun, just
really
bright
good.
fabrics.
I feel like
love
our
it.
Cherry
Beautiful.
needs
It's
this.
springy.
I
and,
agree.
And beautiful. And I love this
So
this
happy.
one that's like little dogwood blossoms. That's one of my favorite prints in the
So
line.
very
They're so
fun.
pretty. Okay. The other things that will be helpful are some Bloc Loc tools. I have half square triangles and half rectangle triangles in this quilt. So I've got the Bloc Loc that's 4.5, and then this comes in a set, but we're only using the B ruler for this quilt.
Okay.
Awesome.
So
It's
Bloc
nice
Loc-
that they come in a set, though.
right, because you need in lots of quilts like Misty's, you're going to go opposite
sides.
directions, but for this quilt, they're all going the same direction.
And it is interesting that when you make a block that goes the same direction, it spins it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's fun. All right, well,
Yeah,
let's get
so
on
it
to
turned
the
out
next-
really cute. Okay, so let's get started. So what we're gonna do to make this block, we're gonna take I do need a couple of those background squares.
Okay.
So you'll select coordinating prints. So you'll notice in all of these, I tried to do something that would contrast a little bit. So a darker with a lighter, or a red with a yellow, something like that, so that you can tell them apart. So we select
Get my chair
two,
ready here.
and then we're going to make the same cuts with our print and our solids. So from the print that you want to be on this is the block we're going for. So just to get that to be clear.
And you actually have 3 different blocks in there.
We do. We have 3 blocks, and so I'm going to show you how to cut these fabrics so that you can get everything that you need.
Oh, very
Okay.
cool.
All right, so select the one that you want to be your spinning block, and then the opposite color is going to do your 4 patches and your half square triangles.
Oh, I can see it now. I couldn't
make
see
sense?
I couldn't see what you were going to do, and all of a sudden my brain went, oh, very
All
nice.
right. So we're going to stack our prints with our
Let me move these for you.
backgrounds. We're going to use our 5-inch ruler to cut this one just in half. So you'll have 2 5 by 10-inch rectangles.
Okay.
And then on this next one, we're going to cut it in half like this. And we're going to leave these, and these ones we're going to cut in half again. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so this is our cutting for the whole quilt. So if you wanted to go ahead and cut your entire layer cakes into sections and set them aside, that's awesome. We're going to do our block in steps, so we're starting with our half rectangle triangles first. So now we're going to mark a line. Need to grab a little pencil. We're going to mark top left to bottom right, and that matters because that's the way the block spins, so that's how you're going to get that. The thing is if you're making your own quilt, as long as they're all going the same direction, it makes no difference.
It'll be fine, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
and for me, that's a really good note, because if I were not thinking about it, I would just be drawing lines and sewing
Yeah.
and drawing, and I would
Right,
have some
just
going
make
this
sure
way
they
and some
all
going that
go
way.
the same way.
Right. Okay, that's really a good point.
Okay,
All right.
so we're going to line this up. It goes opposite corners, just like that. And then you're going to stitch on both sides of the line.
Okay. I'm just looking to make sure we're actually doing it.
We are.
I'm getting it. Getting it right.
It's going to be just
All right.
fine.
Well, for those of us who have
Oops,
my
sorry.
brain, sometimes, it takes a minute for things because I'm angle challenged, you know.
And these do look a little funny. We don't usually stitch with our fabrics kind of going opposite
Crisscross,
directions.
yeah.
No, there's a lot of trust to this, and for me, I have to just check, like I'm going to fold this over and go, okay.
Yeah. I love that there are so many different ways to get the same result too, though.
I do too.
You know, so you can do this the way
Well-
Misty just taught, and I think you're teaching it a totally
I am.
different way.
Well, and
It's really cool.
What comes into play with that is we all have different brains. We all learn
Absolutely.
different.
Okay, so these all come out going the same direction. So we're going to use Bloc Loc
Rectangle.
Half-Rectangle Triangle. I say half square triangle so often that
Yeah.
it's easy to get that.
It is, and it's fine.
But these are cool because they come out exactly the size that I needed, which made making this quilt so easy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I just line it up. We're going for a 4.5 by 8.5 inch block. And we're just cutting typically the edges because they should come out to be just about 4.5. It's nice to see them all
Working.
square up so
Yeah.
beautifully though. So, yep, that's about it.
Now, can you slide it one way or the other and
You
make one
can.
cut, or do you always end up making two cuts?
I like centering it up. It gives you just a tiny bit on both edges
Sure.
that's about the same.
Okay.
Because if you slide it all the way down, you're going to end up losing that.
Oh, okay.
There's fabric that's missing down there. And I like it to be completely centered on, so that you get about 1/4 inch of overhang on both ends for your points.
Okay, perfect.
So
I just wanted to ask the question.
no, that is
you know.
that's a great question. Yeah, I center mine up. And I found that if it's off a little bit, it really doesn't show because these all
It's so
kind
forgiving.
of go into that point, and
Sure.
it's not exact, but it's close enough. It typically just looks pretty good.
Well, and for those of you who don't know, the Bloc Loc ruler has this raised edge on it, so it snugs right up to that seam, and it does really help with that little bit of.
Yeah, super,
It just makes you
super-
feel a little bit more secure.
so
when you're
quick
cutting.
and easy. Okay, so these are done. We're going to set them aside.
Awesome.
And next you can decide if you want to do your half square triangles or your 4 patches. Let's do our half square triangles next. And these are very similar to our half rectangle triangles. There it is. So we're going to draw another line and sew on both sides of the line.
And you could also use your diagonal seam tape.
You totally can. Or you could fold them and press them, you know, whatever kind of line you want for going right down the middle.
And then this one you will square
To 4.5.
and use another Bloc Loc ruler.
That's right, the 4.5 inch tool. It
awesome.
just, Bloc Loc makes this particular project so easy.
We're really trying to mess you up because it's Bloc Loc triangle, half square triangle, Bloc Loc half rectangle triangle,
Yes.
All of them.
Whoops.
all the
I
things.
didn't cut through that. There we go.
Awesome.
All right. And this, as you know, is just put that edge up against the edge of your seam line and trim around it. I like to spin it because it's easier for my right-handed.
You always want to cut
Nice.
so that it's safe. You know, if you're ever this way or, you know, it's just not worth the trip to the emergency room.
it's
No, not at all. All right, I'm going to keep squaring these, but I'm going to let you start on our 4 patches. So we're
Okay.
going to put our print side to our solid so that it's, and we're going to stitch on either side. On both sides
yeah.
of the
We get in trouble with that.
of the
either word.
rectangle. Yep, you're going to stitch on both sides, and I'm going to continue squaring these up real quick.
And this is a 4-patch hack that we like to use. It's just an easy way to make them.
It's very, very convenient. Aren't you fast?
Aren't I
She's so
speedy?
speedy.
Yeah.
No, I know. Everybody sews differently. People are always like, you're so fast. I'm like, yeah, well,
Practice does that.
It does.
Helps you get quick and
And that ADD brain, I think, also, just does it for us. We just move faster.
yep. There's very little trimming, but it's worth it. Makes
It is
life
worth it
so much
because, and I
easier.
didn't trim for years. I didn't square for years because I just made it work. But once you start squaring and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that was perfect. It gives
So
you this
good,
real
yeah.
feeling
It's
of satisfaction.
So satisfying, absolutely.
All right, so our next step on these 4 patches is to cut them into 2.5-inch strips. Going the same direction as your seam lines. We're going to press these open,
Okay,
pressing the
to the dark,
dark
side.
fabric to the back. Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. I always cut before I press.
Do you?
Yeah. I don't know why. I just always do. Probably because I'd have to get up and move,
Oh, maybe.
Well, I
Whatever's
like to line them
convenient.
up because sometimes I'm not an exact
Well, and if you line them up
sewist.
this way, you can actually just sew the line.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you line up the opposite way, right side's facing.
I'm doing it
Okay.
this way
All
right now.
We're good. We all have our own ways.
This is just how I did it. So, and then I just cut them into 2.5-inch strips. And this way I know that they're all lined up and they're not going to come out wonky.
Perfect.
And then I just take each of these sets, flip them, and stitch them together.
Alrighty.
And you need all of these, every bit of this fabric.
Love that. No waste.
None. This is a very low waist quilt. I used all that I could.
Well, you know I love that. So when you start putting this together, what's the first block you put together?
The first thing I do is I put together the center block.
Okay.
So you're going to put your half square triangles together to create this little white diamond in the center.
Here you go, Misty.
And I'll have you stitch that down.
Iron these.
So
Okay.
stitch those. And this one.
And when I'm stitching these, I like to always start from the non-seamed edge.
Yeah, that for some reason stops it from making that little nest that you get sometimes.
Yeah.
I struggle with that. But you can go ahead and sew the whole thing together to create that little white
All
square
right.
and a square
like
diamond.
A 4 patch.
Uh-huh.
I have to concentrate for this, so I'm like,
This is
Biting
it
my
though.
lip.
You're doing it.
all right.
Press that
Press
back and
that.
we'll assemble the whole thing.
All right.
We're so close now.
There we go.
All right, so this is our center, and then each of these go around the edge with the prints touching. That's the little mantra. Keep your print sides to the print sides. And then our 4 patches all go with the print to the middle,
Such a fun block.
just
Really
like that.
fun.
And we assemble in rows, and your block is done.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
And then you've
So-
got poof.
Yes.
Magic.
That's awesome.
Magic.
Then you said you have a
So
sash.
these are set all exactly the same way. 4 by 5, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. And then I have a 2.5-inch sashing with a little 2.5-inch square, and that connects all these cute little the 4
Gives you that
attached blocks
chain through.
and makes it look like it chains all the way through.
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
2.5-inch inner border and 6-inch outer border, and you're good to go. You've got a great. I think it's about twin size, like
Yeah.
perfect for a bed.
Beautiful.
And if it's not the exact size, you could extend your,
Your
borders.
borders,
Always
Right?
remember,
Make them bigger or smaller as
Sure.
you wish, but that's
Absolutely.
it. That's how this block is made. So I hope you
Awesome.
guys like it.
I do love it.
I love it.
For me,
And
it was fun because it's like It's very traditional, but it also looks really cool.
Well, it has a bit of whimsy to it,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Which is
Yeah.
always great.
Well, I guess it's my turn.
It's on you
All
now.
right. So I guess it's my turn to start, and I'm super excited about my quilt. This is it right here behind us.
So beautiful.
It has some tiny pieces in it, so I went out of my comfort zone to make
it
some
does
tiny
look
pieces.
a little bit more complicated.
It
but
really is.
gorgeous,
love
though.
it.
And it's the color of the year. So this is Crush, and it's by Robert Kaufman, and it's just kind of an orangey, pinky, watermelony kind of color.
Really pretty
Yeah, it's
color.
kind of a little bit hard to describe. But to make my quilt, I used 1 packet of 10-inch squares of color, 1 packet of 10-inch squares of solid. And by the way, I love 2-color quilts.
Yeah, I do too.
We need a little bit of extra of both because we need some for our inner border and our 1-inch sashing strips. I know you're dying, but it's 1 inch. And then our outer border is 4 inches, and it's, of course, this color. Binding 3/4 yard. And then our backing, I just used the back, the color for the back. And that is 3 3/4 yard. And I also needed this little squaring tool. So you can see mine is just a regular ruler. And I use this for the whole thing because I'm a make-to girl. And my brain works completely differently than these 2 girls' brains. And so I can't wait to show you how I did it.
I'm so excited.
Okay. So this is my block right here. And it just looks so cool.
But it
it
just
looks
beautiful.
It looks like it's a
You're
little bit
going
of
to
work.
make me one of these, right?
No, you're going to want to make one yourself
Okay,
because you're going to be surprised how easy it is.
Okay, all right.
So
right.
this is made of 3 blocks. Our center block is made exactly how Natalie made hers. Oh, this is it one over here. So you take a regular 5-inch white square and you corner every corner. So let's go ahead and do one of those.
Okay.
That's completely
I
different
was
from
gonna
how I
say.
did mine.
No, it's
Because
not.
mine is 4 half-square triangles.
Yeah. So it
Oh,
looks
you're
the
right,
same
you're
at
right.
the end.
Okay.
It
It
does
looks-
look the same. It's
Yeah.
very similar,
Looks the
but
same, but
totally
very
different
similar.
construction.
All right.
So you cut these to 5 inches?
So all of our blocks end up measuring 4.5. So because when you add corners to one, it doesn't change the size, we're going to go ahead and start with 4.5. So I'm going to cut a 4. Oops. I'm going to cut a 4.5-inch strip here, and I'm going to cut a 4.5-inch here to make a 4.5-inch square. These little ones are 2.5. So Misty, I'm just going to go ahead and have you sew these on, and you can use the diagonal seam tape.
Yep.
And the easiest way to do this is to sew 1 to each side. So I have 16 blocks on here, so I just went ahead and made 16 middles and put them in a stack so that I have them done. I kind of work that way when I'm kind of a rote sewer, which is good if your brain works in that orderly fashion. It's not good if you make mistakes because you literally make the same mistake
Too many times.
42 times, yeah. So for me, I look at it, I check it, I make it, and then we're going to put 2 more of these squares in the other corner, and then that's our center. It's just that easy.
Awesome.
Yeah, really quick and fast. And then I'm just going to start cutting on the next block, which is also a 4.5-inch square. All right, so let me trim these off, and then Natalie, you can iron this.
Okay.
And then I will start on the next block because it is also a 4.5-inch square, but it is done with the color. So I have one cut here, and it's 4.5 inches, and then we're just going to snowball the corners on 2 sides for this block. And you will need 4 of these for each block. So 1 center, these are our 4 outside corners right here.
Okay.
And we'll just set this up here with those. And I
Do you
have,
square anything as you go?
I
here?
do. So for this I did because the 1-inch strip made me a little nervous. And so
The smaller it gets, the more exact you have
the more
to be.
exact it
It's
has to
true.
be. So really what I did, I would take these and I would, we're just trimming these off, pressing them back. And I squared right before I was ready to put my block together.
Okay.
It doesn't matter when you do it. You can do it whenever, but that's just how I did mine. Now, in the pattern, there are loads of cutting diagrams, and I wanted to show you how I did mine. And I love that you girls used the rulers because so everybody has a different brain. Everybody's doing it differently. But what I did was I just cut my strip in half like this. I have my 2 colors together, my white and my crush. I cut it in half like this, And then I literally cut this in half in 2.5-inch strips like this. So I had 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 like this.
Sometimes there's a little extra room with those peaks.
Sometimes with the peaks. So half of them I just cut this way like this. So these first 2 I'm going to cut this way like this. And then these second 2 I'm going to cut this way. Now, hands down, it doesn't matter when you're using solid fabrics because you can use either way.
But this would matter if you were using a print.
If you were using a print, this would matter. So I'm kind of just training your brain to think ahead because I think you're going to want to make this quilt in all kinds of fabrics.
Every holiday, every season, every birthday.
All right. So then what I did was I just kind of rotated one up and one down like this. Put them together, matched point to point, just about as close as you can get.
Okay.
So tiny.
I know,
You're
right?
so little. This is so different.
Different for me for sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you're given a challenge, that's what I love about Triple Play. You're given a challenge. The challenge is half-rectangle triangle blocks.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put a few more of these together because this will make all that you need for one block.
Okay. And I can press.
Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
I'm
Pass it to you.
I'm angrily challenged here. I was having a flipping moment where they were flipping. And you do want to make sure. So what I do is I kind of rotely sew 4 together, and then I see which direction they're going, and then I purposefully sew these together to make sure that I have one going this way and one going this way. So let's look and see where I'm at with that. So I make a little stack, and so this one is the opposite way.
Okay.
And, you know, so like I said, I just make a little stack and make sure I have 4 in each pile.
I hope this one's okay. It slipped a little bit on me.
That's all right. All right, so let's look. All right, so this one goes this way. So now
we need
I would
one
intentionally make these go the other direction on this way. So let's look at how we do that. What I do is I actually lay my fabric here like this on the ones I need to make more of and fold it over and do that. And again, it's a brain thing and it's just how you do it, but this is what works for me. So then I lay this piece here, make sure that this piece is right because I need 4 of each. And actually, Misty, I have some already made.
Oh, okay.
So, actually,
just
Natalie,
stop there.
press that one.
Okay.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that these make legs, which means I'm going to turn them this way so they make star legs that come out like this. And I'm going to sew my 2 legs together like this.
Okay.
Cool.
And we'll do 2 of those. So again, we're looking to make sure that we have legs. Oh, there's my other one. So see, the red becomes the star legs. And we're sewing those together.
There's one.
And you can press that.
Okay.
And then somewhere I have some 1-inch strip. Oh, here they are, right here. All right. So once I got my star legs all done, I very bravely cut 1-inch strips of fabric. And I just went ahead and, actually, do we have a little scissor? Let me do right here. I just went ahead and trimmed these little points off like this because I felt like any way to ease up some of that fabric was okay with me. And then I just took my little pieces and I ran this strip down the side and I did a whole bunch of them at once.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and do a couple of those. And I just trimmed these little points off. And then we're going to put those on both sides. So mine's a little more, less fussy, actually, because I'm just like, I'm not measuring them yet. I'm not worrying about them yet. I'm sewing them together. I'm doing this. And the reason I added the inch piece is because, and you're going to sew this strip on the other side as well.
Oh, awesome.
And the reason I sewed this inch piece is because when I got finished making those legs, they weren't 4.5. And every block has to be 4.5 to fit. And so I made mine, I added this tiny little piece not knowing what was going to happen. And I actually love how it makes it step back.
That is, I think, my favorite thing about
It's
the whole
such
block.
a
It's
great
so
detail.
beautiful.
It looks
And
so
I had no
complex.
idea that was going to happen. And so when people ask me, "Oh, what's your favorite quilt block?" I don't have a favorite block. I have those moments where
Yeah.
something happens that is unexpected. All
love
right,
that.
so Natalie, now what I want you to do is I want you to press these back.
Okay.
And I just clipped these apart. So I would do like a whole set of legs for my block, and sew a little inch on either half. Then you grab this ruler because it's going to be your best friend because we want everything to match. So what I did on this was I was looking at how much room was up here and how much was there. And you lay this on here, and I tried to keep quite a bit of room at the top so I wouldn't lose that point. And so I literally just took this then, and I shaved off this side, shaved across the top, again flip it. So we got the sides, and then we've got this side over here. Because as careful of sewers as we are, sometimes those pieces wing out. And then,
Especially when they're little.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So
It's
the
not
same on
hard.
this. I would often use these lines to line up this inner edge right here to make sure that I had about the same on either side. And I think it's about
An inch or a,
yeah.
a half.
like a line over the half-inch mark, and then across the top. 5/8.
Mm-hmm.
The line over the half-inch. You know what that is. I'm such not a math girl. And then this one over here, going to kind of keep it the same. And you're going to do this to 4 of your blocks, like this.
I love it.
Ah, so fun.
And then we're just going to put our block together. So we need 4 legs, and I've got them here. We need 4 side blocks right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we need 1 middle. And now, when I was ready to put my blocks together, I don't know if you can see this middle, but you can see that it's a little bit wonky, which we're just going to lay this block on here, and we're going to trim it up. And I can see right here that this edge right here is not, it's not perfect. It's not all the way out to the edge. And I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to kind of remember that when I put this block together, it's going to have these legs on here, and I'm just going to give it some grace. So we're going to do this, we're going to put it on here, and we're going to sew that straight across, and it will catch that in that 1/4 inch seam. But let me show you how I lay this apart. And let's look at, you know, if we have another block, it's probably going to be just right. Actually, still really close with a little bit, we need a little bit of room. So don't be afraid of that. Don't be worried about that. All right, so let me show you how the block goes together. Let's just go ahead and lay it up here and assemble it. We've got legs on all 4 sides like this. Actually, let's do this leg right here. And then we've got some corners. And our corners go white to the middle. And so this gives it, it almost has a British look for me. And I don't know why.
It does a little bit.
But it feels a little bit like that British
Flag.
star, yeah. So these are going to go like this. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to sew this together normally, like you normally would. So we'll make a column like this, and we'll sew all the way down this side like this, and then we'll open them up and add these other blocks. It will already have the thread in between that holds it and keeps it together. But I have a block done over here, and I want to show you how I did the sashing on these, because anytime you add sashing, you know, it can distort a little bit. And what I did was I just took my fabric and added a sash to the side and across the bottom like this.
Oh, okay.
And so what that does when you get ready to set them together, so let me show you these right here. So when you get ready to sew these together, what it does is that it means that this tiny sashing, which you know it could get stretched or something like
Yeah.
that because it's so small, it's already anchored on here on this side. So then we're just sewing these blocks together, and when you're done, the row is all sashed, and you have your sashing row in between. So then when you put your next row in, remember it's only the side and the bottom, then it will
that's
automatically
perfect.
sash
Okay.
up. And
Yeah.
all you've had to do is sash your corner sash. So that was my
So
trick
then it-
on this.
So then it's automatically
You just do the top
bordered on
and
one
one side.
Yes. So then, so like this block right here, you know, this would sash this way, to this way, to this way. And then when you come back, this side is actually all sashed. The bottom is all sashed. And then I just took one long piece and added it out here on this side and across the top to finish it off and added my border.
I love
And
that.
I think it came out
great.
so cool. I love the
beautiful.
idea that by adding these strips to make my block 4.5, it gave us this added little cool
That is
detail
such a
right here.
I love it.
detail.
It's
You
magical.
know, I was not expecting it, and it made it really fun. And this is just how I did the half square triangle rectangles, you know, just like with no ruler. I was
Exactly.
living on the edge. So this quilt ends up being 57 by 57, and I love the size because I have a stairway hall that I hang things in, and it's just the perfect size
Yeah.
for that. And then also, the quilting pattern on it is called Sticky Buns. And anytime you have tiny pieces, it's good to use a little bit denser quilting pattern to make sure that everything is held together, and it looks just great. So that's my quilt.
I love it, Jenny.
Love it.
So these are our 3 projects. They're all so diversified. The ways we made them, how they came out at the end, and I think they're so cool. But wait, there's more. Misty?
Yes, I made this little mini version of mine.
It's identical, but tiny.
But tiny. It ends up 1 by 2 little half rectangle triangles.
So cute. I
That's
love it.
adorable. I love it.
Anyway, don't be afraid of these half rectangle triangles. Have fun with them, and we hope you enjoyed this triple play from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I am here with Natalie and with Misty, and we hope you enjoyed watching our latest triple play. You can find us together on the 3rd Friday of each month as we hit another tutorial out of the park. If you aren't already part of the Missouri Star Quilt Company family, be sure to subscribe and click that bell to be notified each time we release a new video. See you next time.